After a year and a half, I wrote a letter to Todd. I said, I have not attempted suicide in a year and a half. I have not been back in the hospital for a year. Please take me back and I'll work. And she was gracious enough to take me back. And she saved my life. I didn't want to work. Working meant that I had to sit there and I had to talk about things that were painful. I used to be a self-mutilator. If I felt something, I would cut myself, or I would burn myself, or I would go get drunk, or I would go get stoned, or I would take a whole lot of pills, anything so I didn't have to feel. What she wanted me to do was sit and feel the feelings. I told her at one point, I said, I don't believe any of this. I don't believe that my mother beat me. I don't believe that my stepfather and my grandfather sexually abused me from the time I was in my diapers. I can't believe it. And she said the most magical thing. She said, you don't have to believe it. What you have to do is talk about what the emotional truth is if you get better. It's true. That left me open to being able to say anything. I didn't have to hold back because I was worried about insulting the memory of my mother, or insulting the memory of my stepfather, or insulting the memory of my grandfather. I didn't have to believe it. I could just say it and see what happened. And I started getting better. In 1999, Ty talked me into going back to school. And I told her that the only reason I'd go back to school was to get my PhD. And I said, you know, here I am. I'm 36 years old. I'm going to be 50 before I get my PhD. And she looked at me and she says, okay, and how old are you going to be if you don't do it? So I went back to school. I was able to grow so much from being in classes. My very first class was philosophy class, where actually I met Melissa's sister, Sandy, which is why I'm here, is because I was allowed out in a philosophy class. The growth that I experienced was amazing, and the people I was able to touch. I had spent so many years being holed up in my apartment, shut away from everyone and everything. My contact was through the internet, and that was as close as I wanted to get to people. And my focus is on, I'm going to heal me, I'm going to be all better, and then I get to go to life. I found out I was completely wrong. People who have been victims have an obligation not only to become survivors, meaning you deal with it, you say, this happened to me, and at that point you get to be a survivor. Beyond survivor, you become a champion. And a champion is someone who has taken their victimization, who has taken all of the abuse, all of the pain, all of the sorrow, all of the betrayal, and they use it to not only improve their lives, but improve the lives of those around us. And I was able to take an honors class at Cedar Crest College called Changing the World from the Inside Out. And it's an honors social work class for all your social behaviors. It's an amazing class. And it talks about finding inner peace by resolving all of these things within ourselves, all these indignities that we have suffered. We resolve them. And then we go out and we not only heal ourselves, but we heal our community. And after we get through healing our community goes out and it heals the world. I have this theory that abuse is responsible for all of the great evils. Do you know Adolf Hitler was an abused child? To look at that and think, if he had taken that energy that he used to destruction, trying to get out all that anger and put it towards the good, can you imagine what would have happened to the world? That much power? Every abuse victim has that much power that you can use for good or you can use for evil. I'm really glad to see men here because you guys, men who are abused tend to act out. They take all that rage and they take it out. Women, on the other hand, take all that rage and they act out inwardly. So you guys are just helping women abuse themselves. You're perpetuating the same abuse that women put on themselves, and then you're perpetuating your own abuse because you're acting like your own abusers. We don't have to do it. We don't have to be in that cycle. I was talking about champions. A long, long time ago, 20 years ago, I wrote a poem. And I wrote it in a burst of optimism, and I really hoped that one day I was going to be able to recite it. And I entitled it Champion. And it goes, life goes on and on and on, an endless circle spinning. But I found the place where I belong. Now, at last, I'm winning. I found my independence, my shelter from the storm. There is no need to cry out loud, no need to conform. So life just keep on spinning, circle, go round and round. Do your best to conquer me. You can't. It's me I found.